Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Emily, this is Andy, and today we have a, what is it? What do we have? Do you know? Don't bite me! Today we have a power yoga flow that is really for the intermediate level. We have all kinds of things from standing balances to arm balances. We have deep back bending. It's a very lovely active flow, especially if it is summertime where you are, like it is for me as well. So like I said before, this is definitely for the intermediate level. If you have any, you may find some blocks useful to you. I'm going to be using them just because it'll help me with teaching through a pretty difficult balance transition. They are not necessary. You can do this whole sequence without them. It's just a little bit helpful. So without further ado, let's get right into it. We're going to just start in an extended child's pose. Toes together, knees as wide as the mat or as comfortable, walking the hands out, melting the chest, forehead down to the mat. Arriving with some conscious breathing, intention setting, maybe choosing one word to work with today.
From here, you can start to bring the chin down to the mat if it can reach, powering in through your fingertips to lift your elbows off the floor. And finally, you can kind of rock your hips forward just to see if you can curl your toes underneath. You may need to readjust yourself. Bringing the chin and chest back down. This is an active child's pose. Kind of stretching into the feet as well, getting them warmed up. A little into the shoulders. And from here, you can just plant the palms, walk them back a couple of inches, and send your hips all the way up to a downward facing dog. Just walking it on the spot. We're not going to be here for too long. And you can step or hop to the front of the mat, finding a forward fold, and clasp onto opposite elbows, finding a small bend into the knees to allow your stomach and chest to melt over your thighs, lengthening into the lower back. Rocking your weight back into your heels, slowly dragging it all the way up to standing. And straight away into high mountain pose, reaching your hands above the head, looking up to the sky. Inhale. And exhale, reverse swan dive down all the way back to the floor, forward fold. Inhale to your halfway lift. Exhale, planting the palms, stepping back to a plank pose. We're starting off, just getting warmed up straight away here. Inhale in here. Exhale all the way down to the mat. Inhale, finding a back bend here, releasing through the glutes, maybe shake the hips out. Exhale, back down, sending the hips all the way back up to your downward facing dog. Gonna go for one more time here. So reaching your heels up, weight onto the balls of your feet, onto the toes, bending in through the knees. Find a little hop up to the top of your mat, forward fold. Inhale, look halfway. Exhale, fold once more. Strong inhale all the way back up to your high mountain pose. Exhale, brings you back to center. One more like this. Inhale up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, look to the horizon, halfway lift. From here, planting the palms. You can step back to plank or you can do your hop to chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, down dog. Reaching that left heel all the way up to the sky. Keeping your shoulders aligned here, squeezing into that glute. And exhale, stepping it forward in between the palms, dropping the right knee down to the mat, swinging the arms up towards the sky. And Vinyasa, our low lunge, keeping those back toes curled under. Feeling a release along the front of the right hip. And exhale, palms back to the mat. Now, listening carefully, we're going to lift that right knee up off the mat. We're not going to step the left foot back. We're just going to hold it up into the chest, knee to nose. And you're going to spin onto the inner edge of your, what foot is that? Right foot. You're going to come into a side plank variation with that left knee still squeezing into the chest. You're going to feel this one. Now, can you challenge yourself kicking that heel out, hovering it above the ground here? For one more breath, looking up to the sky if you can. Exhale, drop it down. Now push your hips up using the support of that leg now on the ground to your fallen star. Circling that top hand back down to the mat, squeezing the left knee up into the chest like we did before, stepping in between the palms again. Now leaving your back knee up off the mat, coming up into a high lunge. From here, we're going to pull. So inhale, bring your arms down, straightening through both legs. Exhale, kiss that back knee down to the mat with your arms reaching up. Find fluid motion with your breath here. Inhale, up. Exhale, tap the back knee. Inhale, straightening the legs. Exhale, bring it down. Inhale. Exhale now, hovering the back knee, hands meeting in prayer in front of the heart, taking that right elbow to that left knee. Find your twisted lunge. Palms meeting the mat now. Laying that left shin parallel to the short edge of the mat, sitting the hips down to our pigeon pose. So from here, you can just lay down, take it as a nice passive opening. You can start to walk the fingertips closer to the hips, looking up, finding a slight back bend here. Or if the flexibility is there in that back leg, we can work first by coming to our mermaid pose. So reaching to that back leg, grabbing onto the top of the foot, bringing the top of the foot onto the inside of the right elbow, reaching the left arm now up and overhead, finding a bind with your hands here. Wonderful, opening into the hips, into the chest. And if you have your blocks, you can just set them underneath your find this a little more accessible. We can stay working here, or for my advanced students out here, we can come into our king pigeon with a full back bend. So I am not the best at explaining how to get into this pose because I learned it myself very sporadically. So the best way that I can describe is you're going to drag that right leg closer in towards you. You're going to reach over with your left hand, holding on with your left hand on the right foot so that you can flip the grip with your right hand and spin it forward now. Looking up, breathing deeply. If you find your breath is now no longer accessible to you, have gone too far. Finding a lift through the chest. No pinching or pain in the lower back here. And exhale, carefully drop that back foot back down to the mat, making sure you're still even on your hips. And finally, you can walk it forward, either down to your forearms or all the way down. Going for about 8 to 10 deep breaths here.
And with your next inhale, start to push back into your palms, walking it back up. I'm going to curl the back toes under and just step it back into our plank pose. Inhale here, exhale, halfway chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog, careful with your back here. And exhale, down dog. Same thing, second side now. Reaching that right heel up towards the sky. Even shoulders, even hips here. Stepping it forward. Low lunge, dropping that left knee now. Keeping those toes tucked under, swinging the arms up to the sky. Maintaining integrity through your core here, so your tailbone is down, your lower abdomen is engaged. Coming down, planting the palms, lifting that back knee off the mat, hugging the right knee up into the chest, hold it here. And exhale, spinning to the inner edge of the left foot, squeezing the right knee up into the chest as you find a side plank variation with that bottom leg lifted. And if you took it on the first side, you could start to kick that bottom heel out, hovering it above the ground. Challenge and balance and strength here. Can you keep the hips shining forward? Dropping that heel down to the mat now, pushing your hips up even higher with the support that you have. And exhale, spinning that top hand down to the mat, looking forward, squeezing that right knee up to the chest again. Squeeze and lift. And exhale, step it in between the legs now, keeping that back knee lifted, finding your high lunge. Are you with me? It's about 100 degrees where I am right now, so it is quite hot. All right, we're gonna find those same lunge pulses that we did on the first side. So inhale, arms down, straighten through the legs. Exhale, arms up, tapping the back knee down. Inhale, up. Exhale, down. Inhale. Exhale, moving with your breath here. Inhale. Exhale, down. Inhale. Exhale, down, staying down this time. Hands meeting in prayer, twisting that left elbow over the right knee. Finding your high lunge with a prayer twist. You can either look over to that, what hand is this? My right shoulder. You can look up, whichever is comfortable. Hands back down to the mat now, sliding that right foot over to the left side of the mat, dropping your shin parallel to the short end of the mat, coming into our pigeon pose. If you took our back bending sequence on the first side, you're welcome to begin on the second. So reaching left hand back to grab onto the left foot. Going to hook that left foot into the left elbow, the crease of the left elbow. Right hand above and over, finding a bind, looking forward, opening through the chest, opening into the hips and the quads here. Coming into our king pigeon on the second side. So now reaching over, right hand grabbing onto the left foot so that you can flip the grip of your left hand. Looking now forward. And carefully let go, setting it down, and finally laying it all the way down and forward to our pigeon pose. Rest here. pushing now back into those palms, to walk it back, curling the left toes under, stepping back into our plank pose. You know where we're going. Lowering halfway to chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, down dog. Breathe here for a moment just to stabilize. Your last downward facing dog. And looking forward, you can step or hop to the top of the mat, looking up halfway. Exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling all the way back up, high mountain. Exhale, hands to heart center. And we're going to start working on that aforementioned balance sequence. Starting with the right side, you can start to kind of lift that left knee and heel up off the mat just so you can feel yourself really ground in through that right foot. So we can step the left leg back, pointing through the toes. Starting to lean our chest forward, kicking up into that left foot, flex or point through that left foot, your choice. At most, we're coming to be parallel to the floor with our chest, and our back leg finding a warrior three. You can keep the hands on the hips. You can bring them in prayer to heart center. You can reach them forward, your choice. You can even reach down if you have a block, you can use that. So from this warrior three, I'm going to reach down to my block. You can reach down to the floor if you're not working with one. I'm going to put the left hand onto my left hip now. Bring this up a little higher. Coming into a half moon now. Keeping that left hand onto the left hip, you're going to start to turn to the left side of your mat, opening through that chest, keeping that back foot flexed as hard as you can. This is really posture we need to learn how to add on to. So once you feel your chest and your hips are now open to the left side, then you can start to extend into that top arm, maybe even looking up if your balance allows it. Very tricky pose, so don't get hard on yourself here. From here, we're going to see if we can bend into that left leg, reaching back with our left hand, clasping onto that foot now, lifting up through the chest, reaching the right hand forward. Can we find a dancer's pose from here? Bringing it forward, stepping that left foot to meet the right. Very good. Shake it out whenever feels good here. Before we come to our second side, hands on the hips now, lifting that right knee and heel up off the mat, feeling your left foot really ground in. Take a step back with your right foot, starting to tilt forward with your chest until that right leg begins to come off of the mat. Warrior three. Keeping your hips square, your chest parallel. From here, reaching down to the floor or block, spinning open to the left side now, finding your half moon. Left side is always a lot trickier for me. Let yourself be wobbly, let yourself fall. Now bending into that right knee, grabbing on with your right hand. Finding a dancer's pose, lifting up from here. Stepping it all the way forward. Right foot meets the left. You can move your block out of the way if you were using one. Bringing your toes out to the edges of your mat. Heels in, toes out. Hands up to heart center. Slowly lower your hips all the way down to your malasana, yogi squat. You can also set block or pillow underneath the hips just to support yourself if you need. Come a little bit further back. Deep breaths here. Notice your heart rate. Notice if it's accelerating. Notice your breath. You find yourself having difficulty catching it. Balances are really great for raising the heart rate, requiring a bit of a labor-intensive breath. So while we're at it, we're going to go into an arm balance. So coming into our crow pose, setting your hands in front of you, you want to look about a solid foot in front of you. Do not look straight down, you're going to fall. Look forward instead, lifting your hips up now. Rather than trying to bring our knees into the elbows traditionally, like a crow pose and a pakasana, we're going to actually just squeeze our knees into our triceps. This will make it a little bit more accessible to everyone. If you need, sometimes it's easier just to bring the earth closer to you. Setting the blocks back, you can set your feet up on those and lift up from there. Everyone, squeezing the knees into the triceps, looking about a foot forward, rocking it forward. You can bring one foot up and then the other, a great place to start. Or if you're ready, you can lift up, take flight into a crow pose. Setting it all the way back down, back onto your hips. Now, still grounding in through our tailbone here. We're going to bring our feet out in front of us, leaning back. You start to feel the transverse abdominals turn on now, the kind of the front abdominals here. You can stay working here, reaching the arms forward. You can bring the toes to the mat, lifting the heels up, or you can bring the shins parallel, or straighten them. Now, you thought we were done. This is our Savasana or boat pose. Fantastic for the hip flexors, for the entire abdominal wall. Exhale, setting your feet back down. Scoot forward, we're coming down onto our back now. Tucking your shoulder blades underneath you, making sure that your shoulders are not reaching up towards your ears. Bringing the heels in as close as you can. Lifting the hips up. Now, often when we come to a bridge pose, we think about squeezing in through the glutes. What I want you to do is instead think about peeling your spine up off of the floor, engaging every back muscle first. And then once you feel like you can't quite push your back up any further, then start to squeeze into your glutes and engage the lower body. We can play here with first lifting the right leg up, point, set it back down, then maybe the left leg, point, setting it back down, squeeze and lift, and setting the hips back down slowly. Now coming into our plow pose. So very simple, kind of like we're going into the bridge here. Going to bring the knees, going to engage into our lower abdominals to really lift the hips up and over. Bringing your knees to your forehead. You can either tuck the toes, keeping the feet flexed, or you can point. Clasping the hands. Breathing here. Finding a sense of relaxation. Beginning to slow our practice down. Slow down the heart rate. Slow down the breath. Begin to slowly lower it down, resisting that slingshot effect. Engaging through the core, lower the spine down, vertebrae by vertebrae. So, hugging the knees now into the chest. You can scoot the right hips over and drop the knees over to the left side. Bring your arms out into a bit of a letter T or a cactus shape. You can look over the right shoulder.
encouraging the upper body, the shoulder blades to stay planted firmly into the ground. We're just twisting the lower body here. Good, bringing it back to center. Just going right into the second side, lifting the hips up and over to the left. Knees into the chest and dropping over now to the right side. Looking over the left shoulder. Keeping the upper body grounded firmly. Going back into center. Hug your knees into the chest once again, bringing the knees now more out towards your armpits or your shoulders. You can grab onto the outer edges of your feet, bringing the bottom of your feet now face the ceiling. Finding a happy baby pose. Wonderful little opening to the hips, releasing through the lower back. You can find a little sense of rock here. You can play by straightening one leg and then the other. Everyone now dropping the feet back down to the mat, straightening out through the legs, taking up space with your whole body. Finding our Savasana, corpse pose. Collective rest. I like to think about this part of yoga as digesting a large meal, letting your body really absorb every part of your practice. Finding that conscious breathing, like at the start of the practice when you first came onto your mat. Take note of any differences in your body. Giving yourself permission to just do nothing for a few short minutes. And resting entirely with nowhere to be, nothing to do. In my opinion, the hardest part of every practice is to just be. Start to deepen your breath, wiggling fingers and toes, inviting life back into your body. Maybe crack a few knuckles, reaching the arms overhead, taking a full body stretch, lengthening like you're waking up first thing in the morning. Bring your knees up, coming over to your favorite side, First, pausing in a fetal position, resting your head on your arm. Starting to push into the hands to come up all the way to seated. Hands up to prayer here. A few more conscious collective breaths. My friends, the love and light in me sees and honors the love and light in you. To that we say, Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me with this power flow today. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure you leave a thumbs up, subscribe for more, and leave a comment down below anything else you'd like to see from me. So until then, thank you so much.